fucked up. Oh my god.
And before I tell you how, I want to tell you about what I'm doing. So I reached out to Corsair for a bunch of PC parts so that I could do a case swap on my computer. Now, I wanted to make my smallish form factor PC that I built a little while ago a little bit larger. Now, I wanted to touch on a lot of things like the thermals because, let's be honest, it was getting way too hot. And I also just wanted to make it a lot quieter because it was running way too loud. I also thought that maybe it wouldn't be the worst idea to be able to upgrade this computer over time and not have to worry about how meticulous everything needed to be put together to get it into the chassis that it was actually inside of. So I took a shot in the dark. I sent a message to Corsair, and to my surprise, they actually responded to me, which was sick. And yeah, they actually came through. So they sent over the Air 5400, which is a dual chamber case focused on airflow with this nice fish tank-like design. And it has a curved glass panel, which I think is really cool. Now, it even has its own airflow specifically meant for the CPU's radiator, which doesn't even make contact with the air inside of the case, which helps keep those temps down and in control. And speaking of the radiator, they actually sent out the Corsair Link Titan 360 RX RGB. This is a really long name, by the way, but it's a 360 millimeter radiator that comes with 3 of these RX fans, and the pump even has a display on it to show you important things like your liquid temperature, or you could even show off things like GIFs or photos. Along with that though, they actually sent over 9 more of those fans, which sounds like a lot of cables, and I thought that it would be a nightmare to cable manage, but they all actually link together with this really cool ecosystem, and each cluster of fans only needs 1 cable to be powered, which is just amazing. But most importantly, out of everything that's in this computer, they came through with a pretty big power supply upgrade with the HX 1200 watt shift, which is a fully modular, very silent ATX power supply, and it's platinum rated, which for a build like this is such a nice peace of mind. But now, back to what the problem is.
This is wrong. It's actually 6:30 in the morning. I got back from Japan literally yesterday. A bunch of stuff came to the house that I was like just trying to get a start on, and I f***ed up. So this is the Titan 360 RX LCD, and it was going good. I was disassembling this PC, and then I realized something that's a pretty big deal. This 12900 KS that I have in here, when I was setting up the Arctic freezer, I kind of forgot something really important. This is not the same backplate. This is completely different. I threw out the one that came with the motherboard because I didn't think I would need it. I didn't really think about upgrading coolers or anything. Built this not that long ago, and now I'm kind of like in a weird boat where like I think I kind of just need to, I need to switch platforms.
So basically, when I built my last PC, I threw out the retention arm that actually holds the processor in place. And the reason why I did that is because the cooler that I was using, which is the Arctic freezer, actually comes with its own contact plate, which is a custom piece that's basically designed to be able to get the best thermals. But either way, now I no longer have a way to seat this processor with this Corsair cooler. And when I installed that cooler, I actually ended up breaking a pin that made the RGB work, so I wasn't planning on reusing it after having sent this one over. Now, the thing that is incredibly frustrating is the CPU I was using was an Intel Core Ultra 285K, which is pretty good. It's not the best for gaming though, and it was something that I was planning on upgrading anyways to the new Ryzen 7 9850X 3D from AMD. And that's mainly because I only use this computer for gaming, and I have been having a lot of performance issues on Intel with that chip, just because games don't really take advantage of all of the cores that it has, and it's actually been kind of a nightmare. The thing is, like, this PC is like a gaming only PC. So I have a 285K right now, and the 285K is nice, but it's not as powerful, and it's also not that great just for gaming because it's like very multi-core. All of the performance is spread out weirdly across these cores, and it's just not the right chip for me, but I already had it. So I didn't want to like go and purchase another one. At the back of my mind this whole time, that was the plan. So in a weird way, I'm kind of glad that this is, you know, a little frustrating. I could just buy the bracket, but I'd have to wait. I've already disassembled it. I need thermal paste if I want to put it back together. So like, I'm just gonna do what I wanted to do in the first place and just call it there and be done with it. I'm gonna like reset Windows, everything, and just do like a fresh, clean PC, and it's gonna be so nice. Bag secured, and it's kind of sick because this also comes with Crimson Desert, which is a game that I've been kind of like curious about trying. And yeah, check the pins, everything's good with the motherboard. I also picked up
another one of these because I ran out and they're super convenient. So that's clutch. And I can't wait to put this together because I think this build is going to be the cleanest, like sickest looking build that I've ever done. This is actually going to be such an insane build. So got the X70E. This is the Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7. Pretty basic, but it's white and it has all of the features that I need, along with the 9850X 3D, which is going to be a big upgrade. Even though I am coming from like a new generation chip, which is the 285K, this is definitely better for gaming because it's not spread out on like a bunch of different cores. There's a lot of that 3D V-cache here that's going to help out. So this is going to be hopefully a pretty straightforward, easy build, and I'm pretty excited.
Okay, now I should probably tell you what we're actually going to be putting inside of this PC. So this PC is kind of overkill. And when I say kind of, I mean that lightly. I play at 4K on a 4K OLED monitor, and I do still play some competitive shooters like Counter-Strike, so frame rate is very important to me. So alongside the Ryzen 7 9850X 3D, which is the CPU that we just picked up, we're going to be throwing it inside of the X870E Wi-Fi from Gigabyte, which is a pretty simple, clean motherboard with a ton of features like 2.5 gig Ethernet and Wi-Fi 7. But I did pick it up mostly because it was pretty cheap for what it is. It's mostly white, and I think it'll help pull this build all together with this like gunmetal white finish, since we do have some black and gray components. I'm also going to be repurposing my RAM since they're still pretty new and have pretty much no issues. It's a 64 gig kit of T-Force Vulkan, and they run at 6000 megahertz. So even though they're not the fastest, they actually pair very nicely with the 9850X 3D. And thankfully they do support Expo, which I did have to look up because that was one big concern. If I couldn't get these running at full speed, I would need a whole new kit of RAM, and that's not something that I want to do because RAM right now is just stupidly overpriced for whatever reason. And speaking of stupidly overpriced, as much as I would love a bigger SSD to play as many games as I want, I'm not paying $1,500 plus for one. So I'm repurposing my 2TB NVMe drive from my previous build. And now, on the note of maybe being a little ridiculous, this is an RTX 5090 Astral OC from Asus ROG. It's probably the best GPU that money could buy, and I'm going to be incredibly upfront when I say that I am very thankful, very lucky, and very gracious that I get to put this in my build because I did not pay for this. Asus actually sent this card to me a while ago, and it's what I've been using since then. After using this card, it is a GPU that I think I would buy. But if you look at the current market, it is not a GPU that I want to pay for. So I'm very thankful to be able to put this inside of my computer. So thank you, Asus. And I hope you don't see this as me like gloating about having this card. To be completely honest, I don't even know how I have it. And of course, there's the Corsair parts like the IQ Link Titan 360 LCD that I mentioned, the RGB fans, the 1200 watt power supply, and the case that makes this build actually what it is.
Okay, so when I start to build, usually what I do, I like to place everything that can go in the motherboard first, because I feel like it just makes things a lot easier. So I'll take off this like retention bracket, I'll lift this up, there we go, reveal the pins, take the CPU, and then line it up with the dot on the motherboard. So there's a little arrow at the top left, a little arrow at the top left of the CPU. It goes in like that, wiggle it around, make sure it's in place, and then you can pop this down and just pop this, and this just comes off. It's really easy. You don't have to take this off first. It's actually safer if you don't, so you don't damage anything. The RAM is pretty simple because we have a lot of it, so we don't have to worry about which slots it's going into. We could just put them all in. And boom. Yeah, unfortunately the RAM is black and not white, but at the same time, no one is buying RAM right now. That is ridiculous. And it's locked in place. It's all toolless on this motherboard, which is really nice. Okay, so the SSD is installed. The RAM is installed, the CPU is installed. Now it's time to basically just try to get everything into the case and figure out how all of this works. Okay, the only problem is that this case is huge. I think the door has to come off. Okay, there's so much going on here. Shout out Jake Bell from LTT for the screwdriver because this thing is actually a lifesaver. But now I gotta get the rear off, which looks like the same kind of thing. Can I just like say how nicely put together this entire case is? This is really sick. It's so like cleanly done. It's actually kind of insane. How does this door come out? Does it come out? I feel like it doesn't. Okay. Okay, these fans I got to attach to this bracket for the front fans. So the air is gonna come in from this direction. And then these fans are really cool because they have these like connectors. I love this design so much. I am so sick of fans that like you need every individual cable to plug in. I don't know why it took this long for this to become a thing, but holy Corsair, you guys actually cooked with this. Look at that. Now it's one solid fan and it's just one cable. Brother, this is amazing. Now, I kind of want to get the motherboard in here so that I know exactly kind of like the route that I'm going to take with the cable management and whatnot. It looks pretty straightforward, as this glass piece almost took out my camera. So the motherboard's seated in here, but what I'm gonna do is make sure the front panel cables and stuff come through before I actually screw it in, just because it makes everything a lot easier, and then I don't have to worry about having to like get them in and whatnot, and it'll just be a cleaner install. So everything's in place. I have like the front panel connectors set up, and then I'm gonna just screw it in. So there's a whole box here with all of the accessories, and this is what I'm looking for. Okay, everything is kind of like set up. I'm gonna do like the power supply and stuff off camera, just to kind of like make sure I do everything correctly. I've never installed these like fans before, so I have to look and see how all of these actually go together. But so far the build is actually really clean. This is the cleanest case I've ever built in, and it's actually like kind of insane. It looks exciting. So I'll be right back. Like, it's got this kind of like stormtrooper vibe with the black accents and the white all over. It's actually sick, man. I really like this build so far. So this is like insanely clean. The air comes in from the bottom, it goes into the GPU, you have air exhausting here, and then the intake is on the side. It should circulate air fine. I'm not really happy with like how bendy this cable is. I think it's just kind of twisted, so I'll have to fix that. I'm gonna just plug it in, see if it even turns on, and then we'll go from there. But so far, this is actually looking incredible. Oh my god, that is so clean. What? This looks actually insane. We have the temperature of the liquid. All the fans are spinning. Dude, this looks crazy. It's so much quieter too because there's so many more fans. So I made a huge mistake. This cooler obviously is supposed to go here because it's a complete open air design and it's completely like unobstructed by everything else. And that's the reason why I picked this case. I am such an idiot. I completely forgot. I am so tired that didn't even cross my mind. Oh my god. But I'll fix it now. So up here is supposed to just be exhaust. So you have cool air coming in, it goes through the GPU and it leaves. Hot air rises, it comes out. And that's optimal. That's how it should be. I found out maybe why Corsair had sent some other fans. I ended up doing a push-pull. So now there's the air is coming in from the side and then it's leaving from the front. And this is all just for the radiator. So this is all for the CPU cooler. Now, the reason I'm not done, I have to go back out to Canada Computers and I have to pick up more thermal paste. But when that's done, the build is technically done. And then I get to just put it together. I get to clean up the office because there's just stuff everywhere. And yeah. Okay, here we go. We got it. I can finally finish this. Sheesh. There she is. Look at that. Holy. So this thing is actually really sick. Don't mind that that's upside down. I gotta fix that. But yeah, GPU fits perfectly. It looks like everything was like meant to be. That I have set up as push-pull. I put new thermal paste so like it's got a better connection. Hopefully the temperatures stay really good. I'm going to go ahead and like reinstall Windows and stuff, get it set up at my desk and just see how this thing goes. And I'll check back in like a day or so with some benchmarks and some updates. Okay, now I want to talk about the benchmarks on this PC because it's kind of insane. So in Fortnite, I'm running a mix of like high and ultra settings without using DLSS or any sort of upscaling.
and I'm playing it at 4K. So I'm getting an average frame rate of about 210 frames per second, which feels incredibly smooth. The game is very responsive, and I didn't have any stuttering. Now, I know Fortnite isn't the most insane, demanding game to run, but this is a game that I had constant issues with when I was using the 285K from Intel. I'm happy that it's finally running here without any issues at all. Even the 1% low was only down to 126 frames per second, which is still very solid, and it shows me that all of the hitching problems that I had with this game at least are completely gone. Now, CS2 is a weird one. I play it in 4:3 stretch resolution, so it's 2560 by 1080. But this is a game where frame rate really matters, and when playing Deathmatch on the Intel build, I was getting around 300 FPS, and it wasn't even that stable. I'm not sure why the 9850X 3D has made such a big difference in Counter-Strike, but I'm getting between 550 to 800 frames per second, depending on what's happening on screen. And I've just never felt Counter-Strike like this before. Out of all the games that I play regularly, this is the one that I'm super excited about and very happy with how it runs on the new build. I also tried Borderlands 4, which is a very poorly optimized game, and I am running it at 4K, though I'm using the badass preset, which is the absolute highest settings, but I did enable DLSS, and I do have frame gen at 2x because this is not a game anyone should try to run natively. It is that bad. And I'd say that this game is the biggest difference that I noticed. Now, I did have a spike where my 1% lows tanked to around 6 frames per second, but outside of that, I was averaging around 223 FPS. And for Borderlands 4, that's insane. Even with frame gen, the game is terrible. It used to stutter all the time, and it was just unplayable on medium settings, even with DLSS. So I'm happy that I could finally enjoy this game and just boot it up and not have to worry about performance. And I used to have crashing issues all the time, and in the short time that I spent with Borderlands on this PC, I didn't have a single crash. So I don't know if they updated it or if this chip is just magically better. Probably is, but it seems to be working a lot better than it was. And now, Crimson Desert is a game that I haven't played yet outside of the intro, but I'm running it absolutely maxed out with everything on, like ray tracing and whatnot. Now, I am using DLSS and 2x frame gen, but it looks stunning. I'm averaging around 180 frames per second. The game is very responsive. It felt very smooth, and this is definitely a title that shows the capabilities of a build like this, especially when you're playing it at 4K. I'm okay with frame gen in story mode titles. It doesn't add too much input latency, and it makes the game much more enjoyable in my opinion when you actually see how smooth they can be. And as far as temps go, I would say that I was getting very similar temperatures. This is a hot CPU, but the difference is my fans don't actually need to be cranked. So I hit a max of around 75 Celsius with the 9850X 3D, but I'm in the quiet fan profile on IQ, which is barely audible. Like, I couldn't record this close to my PC before. You would hear all of the fan noise, and it was pretty bad. And with all of the airflow the 5090 is getting now, it's averaging around 60 Celsius, and for a card like this, that's actually kind of crazy. So I've been using this PC for about a week now, and I have a lot of thoughts. First off, I did the total, and it's very expensive. Like I said, the only thing that I paid for in this build was the processor and the motherboard that you saw me buy in this video, and the thermal paste, which was like 10 bucks. Yes, this thing is insane. Do I recommend that you go out and build it? I mean, if you have the money, it is probably the best gaming PC that you could build. It's other than like the NVIDIA 6000 Blackwell, I don't think that you can build a better computer than this. But in Canadian, it cost about 1,200 bucks after tax when you factor all of the parts in. Unfortunately, with the climate of everything being extremely expensive due to AI. So I'm super thankful and extremely happy about this PC. And as someone that's built PCs and as someone that just had like a fascination with this thing since I was a kid, it is kind of crazy that I have this. But I want to be really clear. If I were to go out today and build a computer, I would not buy a 5090. I would not buy a 9850X 3D. I'd probably build a pretty nice mid-tier PC, and I actually did one last year that I'll link in the video's description below if you're interested, which is more of what I would actually use on a daily basis if it came out of my pocket. So I just want to say thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, a like and a sub goes a really long way. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers, which is just insane to me. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed me losing my mind at 6 in the morning trying to build a computer, and never again.